Hey, Brandon here. Welcome to the channel and thanks for tuning in. Welcome to my top 15 rookie wide receiver show. Already did my quarterback show, already did my running back show. So now it is time to break down my top 15 rookie wide receivers, man. I played Devy. I've been watching these players for 3 years. I'm done watching film. It's over. We don't have draft capital yet. We don't have landing spots yet. The draft is 2 weeks away, but we're going to put it out there. This is where I see kind of my draft order, I guess you could say, for the wide receivers in my rookie drafts. All right. So we're going to go through my top 15. We're going to break them down by tiers. We're going to talk a little bit about their traits. I have on this YouTube channel detailed rookie reports on each of the 15 of these players that we're going to talk about today. So if you want to really get an in-depth look, my podcast co-host Jason DiRienzo and I, we have them all broken down. So go check out the channel. Got a lot of great stuff. And please hit that subscribe button. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, thank you again for the continued support. We're all excited about this draft class, right? I mean, the wide receiver class for a while has been touted as it's got a lot of depth, and it does. It's got 3 or 4 guys at the top that should be immediate impact fantasy players for us. But it's got a wide variety, man. This year we got some big, tall guys, thick guys that the NFL seemed to have been fading away from, but now they're back in favor because a lot of the guys that are bigger and taller are the guys that are going to be taken in the first round. We got a lot of skinny guys, a lot of fast guys, a lot of short guys that are, stout and powerful that have different skill sets. So we got a lot of wide variety. So it's going to be really fun to see where these guys land and see how they hit our dynasty rosters. So, I'm excited. So, these shows, these ranks here, I'm not going to get into the details of, their scouting report, really specifically, but we're going to go through and I'm going to tell you why I like each player, why I think they're going to hit our dynasty rosters. First and foremost, when it comes to me and wide receivers, the one thing I'm looking for first and foremost is space creation, man. Guys have got to create space all over the field. And I'm not just talking about running 9 routes and, go routes and stuff like that and all those highlight films that you see and these guys catching the ball down the field. You got to win everywhere. You got to win short. You got to be able to shake that DB and get them off your back to create space and create that small little window of opportunity for that quarterback to hit you. So that is the lens that I like to scout through, space creation, and then physicality. Like, you've got to be able to be physical enough to withstand the rigors of playing in the NFL. And you can watch film and see players who like contact and who don't. And I value that very highly because I think, if you don't make it on your dynasty rosters, either you can't create space in practice or you don't like the physicality of the game and you're just not into that. So let's get started, man. I'm going to break these guys down into tiers and my ranks as well. Tier 1 is basically, round 1 draft capital, round 1 rookie pick, and most likely an instant contributor and starter on day 1. So number 1, I don't think it's any surprise, Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, he's been the talk of the town in the Devy circles and C2C world that we play in fantasy sports, for years. Like I said, I've been watching these players for 3 years, so I've been scouting these guys for forever. It's kind of nice now. I'm ready to get to the 2025 class shortly after the draft and start digging into that class. But Marvin Harrison Jr., man, he brings all the elite traits to the table. So he's here at number 1, but let's get right to like number 1A, and number 2 is Malik Neighbors. And there's some people out there that have Malik Neighbors number 1, and I can see why. This dude was super productive at LSU this year. And one thing I think Neighbors has that does a whole lot better than Marvin Harrison Jr. Is his yards after contact. I mean, this guy with the ball in his hands is a dangerous weapon. I think he's got a little bit more yak ability, than Marvin Harrison Jr. So if you have Malik Neighbors as number 1, I really can't, knock that. I think they're 1A and 1B for me, as with most people. I mean, they're the 2 best, prospects to hit. I think have the ability to hit because there's going to be some busts in this list. There's no doubt about it. Not all 15 of these players are going to make it to our dynasty rosters. That's just the way it goes. But in any case, Marvin Harrison Jr., number 1, Malik Neighbors coming in at number 2, both solid receivers. There's not much to talk about. They got good traits, all right? Number 3 is Rome Odunze, probably number 3 for a lot of people. Now, there's Rome Odunze fans out there that have him number 2, which I can certainly understand. I mean, he is an above-average height, weight, speed athlete with great pass-catching instincts at the catch point. I did an interview with Rome Odunze on this YouTube channel back in the fall. He actually jumped on and I did an interview with him. So feel free to go check that out on this channel. It's pretty cool. Him and I still actually DM each other on Twitter sometimes a little bit. So it's pretty cool. His father actually, saw me cutting up films a couple years ago and reached out to me and thanked me and kind of hooked us up. It's pretty cool. A little side note here on the show. But Rome Odunze coming in at number 3. If there's one knock, and I'm going to talk about what I love about these players, but I'm also going to talk about maybe something that might hold them back a little bit because there's no perfect prospect, right? I mean, these 3 are like the slam dunk 1, 2, 3 for most people, and I understand why. They got the size, athleticism, physicality, hands. They're the complete package. Does Rome Odunze have like the elite space creation? That's the one thing I'm going to be looking at because he does great at the catch point, but can he really create space? Short, intermediate, parts of the field. It shows on tape a little bit, but that Washington offense was really hard to watch sometimes as far as pinning down skill sets because there was so much motion. There was, just the formations and, group formations and stuff like that. He had a lot of one-on-one press coverage, beat most of the time. Rome Odunze is my number 3 wide receiver. So this is where it really gets interesting, right? Because 1, 2, and 3 are pretty much the same for most people, which is understandable. This is where it gets fun. I have at number 4, Ladd McConkey. I have been putting out Ladd McConkey cut-ups out on Twitter and on this YouTube channel for 2 years. When I saw him play in Georgia 2 years ago, he was nicked up this year and didn't play a full season. But Ladd McConkey 2 years ago just really impressed me. And I have said, excuse me, that I think he could be arguably the best route runner in the class. I really, really do. I love this kid play. I love his ability with the ball in his hands. He's got the physicality. He's a student of the game. You talk to, Kirby and you listen to him talk. He's the first one in and out of the room and understands everything, picks up the playbook. I mean, he's just a smart player. I think he's going to be a great possession receiver in the NFL. Little higher on Ladd McConkey than most people, but that's okay. I'm going to base these guys the way my scouting, the way I look at them. So I'm sure there's a lot of chalky lists out there and shows that just have them all ranked because most people have Brian Thomas Jr. number 4 kind of locked and loaded. I like Ladd McConkey as a route runner a lot more than Brian Thomas Jr. So that's why I have Ladd McConkey here at number 4. Okay. Coming in at number 5, I've got Xavier Worthy. Yes, still holding off on the Brian Thomas Jr. I'm sure you're thinking that that's where he was going to come in. Xavier Worthy, I know he blew up the combine, ran a 4.2 something, but this kid is a route runner, right? Again, through the lens of these guys getting on the field, creating space. He can win 5 yards off the line of scrimmage. He can win 15 yards, and then he can just go deep and beat you deep. And his stats would have been so much better this season if Ewers could have gotten him the ball. So many, off-target deep throws that he just couldn't get his hands on because they were underthrown and stuff like that. But he is an exciting receiver. I should have mentioned, guys, when you're looking, you can see the cards here, all the detail on these cards here. These are like my scouting report notes. You can see some PFF grades here for you. His career statistics, a lot of good information on the player cards that you're looking at. But I like Xavier Worthy, man. Probably maybe a little bit more than a lot of people. Now, I know there's people, he's thin, 5'11", 165. I get it. You're concerned about that. But I watched Devonta Smith. I'm an Eagles fan. And that kid, I can see Xavier Worthy. He is my comp. You can see on the player card because this guy's not going to be a number 1 on a team. He needs to be a number 2 or number 3 receiver. But if he can find himself, attached to a quarterback who can get him the ball, and maybe there is a wide receiver one already on an established team, I think that this guy could really flourish into being a very productive dynasty player for us. All right. Coming in at number 6, this is going to round out my tier 1 prospects, is Brian Thomas Jr., 6'2", 209-pound receiver. Really had a productive season playing along neighbors at LSU. What a great combo they were this year. Listen, man, you go and watch Brian Thomas Jr., what are you going to see? You're going to see all of the great highlight films of him going down vertical at the catch point, making plays and stuff like that. I watched a lot of his film on All 22, and I can tell you, I mean, his route running is good, but I think it could be better. I still think he's a little bit of a raw receiver. I mean, he really emerged only this year. He's a true junior. His freshman and sophomore year, Didn't really produce a whole lot, but this year he really blew up. I mean, that whole LSU offense was out of control with Jalen Daniels. I mean, it was just Jaden Daniels rather. It was a great, offense. So Brian Thomas, I think Xavier Worthy and Ladd McConkey are better route runner space creators. That's why I have him higher. But Brian Thomas Jr. showed up at the combine, showed his athleticism, showed his speed. But you got to do more than just run vertical to win in the NFL, right? That's going to get you the ball sometimes, but you have to be a defensive manipulator to consistently create space. And I think he has the ability to do it. I just see on film right now that I think Xavier Worthy and Ladd McConkey are better at this moment. So there is some projection in Brian Thomas's junior, if you've got him that high, you're banking that athleticism is going to eventually unfold, and it most likely will. All right. So tier 2, round 2 and 3 round draft selections, mid round 1 to mid 2 dynasty rookie picks, complimentary wide receiver, and should be immediate starters in wide receiver sets. All right. That's kind of how I define my tier 2. So coming in number 7 overall, Ricky Pearsall, 6'1", 189-pound receiver, late bloomer here. But again, if you watch, this guy's got great release packages. I think he's again a route runner. He's got strong hands. I mean, you look at some of the body contortion on some of the plays in Florida this year. I mean, he's just looks like a great NFL physical possession receiver to me. He's not going to be the flashy guy, but if there's one player in here, and I know everyone's looking for the next Puka Nacua comp, and I'm not comparing these players. I'm just saying playing like Puka Nacua does just can win everywhere on the field. That was so amazing about Nacua and the way and how many different ways that he did win on the field. Ricky Pearsall has that skill set. I mean, he is not going to give you that vertical separation. But man, he's physical, strong hands, and a guy that just knows how to get open. Has been playing the game pretty many years in college football. So I like Ricky Pearsall's game. All right, number 8, I got Xavier Legette. All right, do I feel great about this? No, but I have him here because he is a true athlete. He ran a 4.3 at 221 pounds. He's a 5-year player. He had like 18 receptions his first 4 years and then blows up this year, right? So there's a lot of people that are like, comparing him to Jonathan Mingo, who I did not like last year from Ole Miss, who had, a very late breakout. But this guy just looks different with the ball in his hands. And like I value physicality when I watch wide receivers, and he's got the ability to create space. He's got a vertical threat. He's fast. He's got the speed. His body control, his ball tracking. I think he's a pretty good route runner. Can he improve? Yeah. So there's a lot of people scared off from him because he's a 1-year wonder, a late breakout. Go look at his 5 or 6 year stats. They're not pretty except for this year. But I'm going to take a shot with him here early on because I think he's got the ability, if he can he's got some really good athleticism to improve his route running. So I got him here at number 8. All right, number 9, a player that I'm probably higher on than most, but hey, man, it's my show and it's my scouting, right? And I just love Malachi Corley, man. I love this kid. 5'11", 215 pounds now. He's a running back as playing wide receiver. There's people who are out on Malachi Corley because of his inability to really be an efficient route runner, space creator. And I get it, right? There is some, there's some parts of his game that the way he, at Western Kentucky, the competition level and the way he got the ball, the manufactured touches, he didn't face a lot of one-on-one, I'm going to beat me, DB, you know what I mean, to get the ball in his hands. But man, when he does have the ball in his hands, this guy is different. He is built different. And like I said at the beginning of the show, physicality is something that I kind of really hang my hat on in my scouting process. And this guy, yards after the catch monster, is going to be impressive. So for him to be successful, for him to hit our dynasty roster, and to be a contributor, he's going to have to land in the perfect environment. And I get that. So there's a risk here. There might be other players on my list here that might be a little safer. But I'll tell you what, man, if he gets drafted by a team that knows how to use him, because the NFL is looking for guys to get the ball in their hands in space and for them to do damage. And I think he has enough ability to create space. And then when he gets the ball in his hands, I actually feel pretty bad for any kind of DB that is going to face this man, because, he's going to lay a lick on you when you try and tackle him. And I just love his game. He's completely different than any other receiver. Malik Washington, a guy that we're not going to talk about on this show, but a player who's very similar, smaller, very stout, physical. Who these are two players that are very similar in this draft. But Malachi Corley, I watched his film back last early in the fall, and I just fell in love with his game. I'm a big fan, and I can't wait to see where he lands. I really do. It's going to be really fun. All right, coming in at number 10, Adonai Mitchell. I'm a little lower on him. A lot of people have him ranked in he's like a round one talent. And for me personally, I can't watch that film and say to myself, he looks like a first round draft pick. I just don't. Does he have some flashes in his Texas film that, yeah, he has the great ball, the big contested catch, highlight reels, body control, making the adjustments, and that's all nice. But again, I watch him, watched a ton of all 22 film on this guy, and the inconsistency of running routes to me has me very concerned. Like, there were games where he really made an effort. There were other games where he didn't. He took his time. And I think if there's one player in this draft that a lot of people are projecting because of his athleticism that he is going to hit and be worth a first round draft pick, I know there's a lot of people out there like that. I can't be one of those people. I'm just not going to follow the herd mentality of putting Mitchell, up there because everybody else does. So, what fun is that, right? I mean, I do these shows, right? I want to, make my own ranks and see if they work out, right? But could this kid be? I mean, he's an athletic kid, sure, but again, how many of these bigger 6'2", 205-pound receivers are we seeing in the NFL, consistently win? So, again, he's going to need to, I think he could emerge and develop into a nice wide receiver 2 on a team. But, if you're drafted round 1, you should be really, coming in being a wide receiver 1. And I don't see Mitchell as a wide receiver 1. I just don't. So I'm a little, again, he's got great hands, ball skills, the catch radius, the whole 9 yards, but the inconsistent effort. And I don't think he offers a lot yards after the catch wise. I don't think he's a very dynamic athlete with the ball in his hands. So that's why I have him here at number 10. All right, number 11, Troy Franklin, 6'2", 176 pounds. I know a lot of people are going to come right out of the gate and say, he's thin and stuff like that. But again, here's another player very similar to Devonta Smith as well, who I think could have a similar role as a good wide receiver 2 on a team. Now, I think he's a great route runner. Does he get pushed off a little bit vertically, because of his body size? Yeah, but maybe that's not the way they're going to use him. But I think he's got enough juice to win vertically. I think he's great with the ball in his hands after the catch. The second level vision, I really, really like. But the people are concerned about his thin build, and is he going to be able to effectively beat press coverage? I think he played out wide 80%. You can see here on the player card. So he might be relegated a little bit more to the slot, but I think he would be a good slot Z receiver. And again, got good hands, good route runner, just a little bit thin, but we'll see. Still think he makes it and is a dynasty contributor to us. All right, a name that you're probably all waiting to hear and say, my goodness, how can we we haven't heard Keon Coleman yet, coming in at number 12. Same thing kind of with Mitchell for me. 6'3", 213-pound receiver. Do we see a lot of those guys? I mean, you have to be really, really athletic at that size, I think, to be consistently, contributing points to our dynasty roster. And I just don't see elite route running when I watch Coleman. He went to Florida State, played LSU, I think, the first week, and had that first big play, where he made the guy miss in the second level and ran for a big touchdown. And everyone's been in love with this guy since. Again, he's mocked, I see, in first round, early second round. And it may happen, but I just question again his route running. And if I'm going to go through this process and say, okay, the better route runners are going to be at the top of my list, I can't put Keon Coleman, inside my top 10 right now based on the film that I watched, with him consistently beating people and beating DBs to get open. So We'll have to see how that works out. All right. Coming in at number 13, I think going to be a great slot receiver in the NFL is Roman Wilson. Had a really good season at Michigan. Was really just underutilized at Michigan for all these years. I mean, Michigan just is not, you got to have projection with these guys and really watch the film and watch these guys on the field, because the production for a lot of Michigan receivers just isn't there, right? And I know a lot of people, base their scouting on production, but you shouldn't. You should always do it really based on traits and what they look like. And this guy's got really strong hands, good body control, his competitiveness, and I think he's got really good separation ability. And he's not the guy that's going to wow you with the ball in his hands at the second level, but I think he is going to be, he's got some versatility. Looks like here he's 58% out of the slot, 42 out wide, so he's got some versatility, but I think, he's got the hands and the competitive makeup to be one of those consistent, receivers that are going to move the sticks, right? When you need, that player, to rely on to get those yardage to move the sticks, I could see Roman Wilson being one of those. He's going to be a speedy slot option, I think, in the NFL. So that rounds out my tier 2 prospects. All right, so I got two. I got two guys here. My last two players start my tier 3, round 4 or 5 NFL draft selection. So these are early day 3 guys. They're going to be, late round 2, round 3 rookie picks, and has the potential to be starters, but I don't believe they'll be starters initially, but they can develop. And number 14 is Javon Baker. I said I love physicality. I think this is one of the most physical receivers in the draft, this guy. He is, you go put on the tape, and on this film, on this channel, rather, I've got 2 or 3 films on here showing you his body control at the catch point, and the catches he makes with his hands, were just really good. I mean, really good. But again, can he create space? Can he win one-on-one? I don't think he has the best footwork as a route runner. He went to Bama for 2 years, didn't produce, goes to UCF, and then has 2 really good seasons. Would have liked to have seen him stay at Alabama and produce the same way he did at UCF. But man, I'll tell you, this guy, when he does have the ball in his hands, he's tough to get to the ground, and I love his competitive physicality. Really fights for every yard, and I think, he's going to be, again, just another really good possession receiver. So I got him here at number 14. And to round out my pick and my show here, one of my favorite players in the draft, Jaylen Pul. He's been kind of a sleeper of mine for some time. Washington, again, had these 3 good receivers. Jaylen Polk, really emerged this year. Jalen McMillan kind of got nicked up, and Polk then had the opportunity to showcase his skills. And I think he could be a really, really good possession receiver. He's got good ball skills and hands, great body control, large catch radius, again, physical, thick, tough. The big thing about him is his route running. He needs to develop that a little bit better. But again, kind of like the Javon Baker mold, see a really good possession receiver. Played out wide and inside, has some versatility. So again, I think he's going to be landing spot, specific. But Jaylen Polk, I think, can play. And I'm really excited to see if he gets early day 3 draft capital. So that really much rounds it out, man. Again, like I said, guys, you can go and see a video, an in-depth video where I really get into the scouting film of them and really get to dig into the stats and the metrics and stuff like that for some of these players. But I want to keep these kind of short. So what you're looking at are really the rest of my my list here. You can see the rest of my receivers, 16 through 2025. And there's some good names in here, man. Jacob Cowing, smaller player I like. Malik Washington, Jalen McMillan. You can see these names here on the screen, guys. This is part of my called Devy to Dynasty dashboard thing. It's a service that I have. Feel free, man, to hit me up via email if you want a 2-week trial subscription to it. Like I said, after the draft, I'm going to be, starting to scout the 2025 class and the 2026 class. In fact, I'm putting out 2027 scouting reports on incoming freshmen like Jeremiah Smith, the next Marvin Harrison Jr. wide receiver. So if you play Dynasty, you play fantasy out there, man, and you're looking for a YouTube channel that's going to give you an early look at future classes, man, hit me up for a 2-week subscription. Send me an email. and I'll let you take a look at this product. It's pretty cool. I got like film breakdowns in there, links to all sorts of different stuff. It's a really cool thing. And all I ask is you buy me a case of beer for a whole 12-month subscription. It's really inexpensive, but it's really cool if you want to get an edge on your Dynasty rosters or your Dynasty mates out there. And you can start getting a real early look at some of the future classes. So, hey man, this is going to be an exciting draft. We're 2 weeks away from the draft. I can't wait. I'll be doing shows just like this one after the draft when we actually have landing spots and draft capital, because they do matter. Landing spots and opportunity matter in fantasy. So thanks for watching, everyone. Super appreciate you taking the time to watch the video. Thanks.